Hey there, my crew looking to get rich. How's it going? Before we dive into this video, I need to tell you about something that happened to me last month that left me completely shocked. I was walking through the mall when I saw a young man, about 23 years old, crying desperately while sitting on a bench. I approached him and discovered a story that completely changed my view on money and opportunities, and it will certainly help you gain more clarity about money. Stick with me in this video, and I'll share the outcome of this story shortly. But back to our topic. Do you know what the biggest problem is that stops people from saving $50? They think they need to earn a lot of money to achieve this feat. But let me tell you something, I once sold popsicles. Yes, those guys shouting, "Get your cold treats." And even so, I managed to save that money, and no, it wasn't by selling a kidney or doing anything illegal, because I love eating burgers every weekend, and I doubt anyone would want my organs back to that young man at the mall. His story is closely related to what I'm going to teach you today. While he cried, he told me he had lost all his savings in a financial scam you're probably familiar with. But the most interesting part isn't that it's what happened afterward. But I'll leave that part to tell you later, because now I need to show you something even more important. I'm going to reveal a method I developed after losing everything I had in 2019. Yes, I also went broke badly, so badly that my credit card was rejected even at a hot dog stand. But it was precisely at that moment that I discovered a technique that allowed me to save 50 and to zero in 12 months, even while earning a salary well below average. Before we continue, I need you to understand something. This method doesn't involve creating an Instagram account to sell courses, becoming a quantum coach, or creating those annoying YouTube ads saying want to learn to make money while you sleep. Actually, it's something so simple that you'll wonder why you didn't think of it before. Speaking of thinking, let me tell you another story that happened to me the other day. I was at this supermarket when I saw a lady about 60 years old buying several $2 bills. I found it strange and went to talk to her. What she told me left my jaw dropping. I'm sure you have no idea what she was doing with that money. At first it seems illegal, but then I found out she's a fantastic lady. Because of this idea, I'll share this complete story soon too. Do you know why? Because I have something even more interesting for now. The method I'm going to teach you today is based on 3 fundamental pillars I discovered after studying the habits of over 100 people who managed to save a lot of money even while earning little and no. It's not that basic story of cut the coffee, because if that were the case, I'd already be broke since I drank 3 bottles of coffee every day, by the way. If you're watching this video up to this point, you must have realized that I'm not the type of influencer who flaunts luxury cars and mansions. My thing is to show reality, so much so that I'm recording this video from my room with my noisy fan in the background. If you can hear it, I'm sorry, but the heat is intense. Oh, and before I reveal the first pillar of this method, do me a favor, click the like button to help the algorithm deliver this content to more people, because unlike that young man at the mall who lost everything, I want you to learn the right way to save your money. Now let me tell you how the first pillar of this method works, which is something I learned from a coconut candy vendor at the beach. Yes, you read that right. It was a coconut candy vendor who taught me one of the most valuable principles about money I've ever learned. He taught me that the secret isn't in how much you earn, but in how you multiply every day. He sold coconut candy for $5, but instead of spending all the profit, he set aside 30% to reinvest in a side business. And here's the first pillar of the method: silent multiplication. But before explaining how silent multiplication works, I need to finish the story of that young man at the mall. After losing everything in the scam, he found out his girlfriend was pregnant, desperate, without money, and with a baby on the way. He did something that completely changed his life. Do you know what? happened, I'll tell you in a bit because now I need to show you something even more shocking. Remember that lady with the $2 bills at the supermarket? Ma, well, she had a genius technique. She bought the bills for $2 and sold them for $5 to collectors. Just like that, in 6 months, she saved $115 just with this little trick. It made me realize that opportunities are everywhere, even in the most trivial things. If you're watching up to this point and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, stop now and subscribe, because soon I'll reveal a technique I still use today that made me earn more than $0 in a single day. And no, it has nothing to do with digital marketing or selling lay. Please dive back into the method. The second pillar is what I call the inverted snowball effect. This is where most people make a big mistake. They try to save large sums all at once, when in reality, the secret is to start with small amounts, so small that it might make you chuckle when I explain it. Remember when I promised I'd share a more impactful story? Well, last week I met a man who had once been homeless and now owns 4 apartments. His method was so simple that when he told me, I felt embarrassed for not having thought of it myself. I'll give you the full details of this strategy soon. The third pillar is called progressive leverage, but no, it has nothing to do with traditional financial leverage. It's actually a concept I developed after observing how ants build their hills. I know it sounds a little crazy, but trust me, it makes perfect sense. If you find this content helpful, leave a comment below saying, I want to get rich. This will help me see who's truly committed to achieving financial independence. Also, I'll like a few of the comments and share a bonus technique I use to earn extra cash on weekends. Now here's the most amazing part of this method. It works even if you're in debt. In fact, this is how I helped my cousin pay off a $45,000 debt in just 8 months. He worked as a delivery driver, but the key wasn't in the deliveries themselves. It was in how he spent his break time between deliveries. Speaking of breaks, let me finish that story about the young man at the mall, because it ties into what I'm about to teach you. After losing everything and discovering he was about to become a father, he started using a technique I call time arbitrage. He realized he had 4 hours of free time every day, and instead of spending that time watching Netflix like most people, he began doing something so simple it almost seems silly: buying discounted products at major retail stores and reselling them in neighborhoods where those stores didn't exist. In just 1 week, he managed to recover all the money he lost in the scam. Remember the former homeless man who now owns 4 apartments? Well, he started by collecting cans, but the real difference wasn't in the collection itself. It was what he did with the money he earned from the cans that changed everything. The full story is even more impressive, but I'll share that soon. For now, let me show you something that will truly blow your mind. I mentioned earlier that you should start with ridiculously small amounts. Well, here's the first step. Start saving just $1 a day. Yes, I'm serious. $1. I know it might sound laughable, but there's a mathematical logic behind this that no one talks about. This is where the power of the inverted snowball effect really comes into play. Speaking of amazing results, let me tell you about a guy I met last week. He turned $100 into $10,000 in just 45 days by doing something so simple you won't believe it. In fact, it was so unbelievable that when he told me, I thought it was a lie. But when he showed me the proof, I was blown away. Hold on, I'll share that full story soon. Now, do you want to know the technique I used to make $2,000 in a single day? It's something that literally everyone has at home but doesn't realize its potential. All you need is a cell phone with internet access. And since you're watching this video, you already have that. By the way, if you haven't liked the video yet, now's the time, because I'm about to reveal something I've never shared before, a strategy I stumbled upon when I was completely broke and had to pay rent. Within 48 hours. The truth is, saving $50,000 isn't about earning more money. It's about multiplying your money in smarter ways. For example, Did you know that there's a Japanese method called kakebo that can increase your savings by 35% without you needing to earn a penny more? I tried this method myself, and the results were astonishing. Now, speaking of astonishing results, let me finish the story about the lady with the $2 bills. In addition to selling them to collectors, she figured out a way to further multiply her earnings by doing something anyone can do. I'll leave the full details of that part for another video, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss it. Before I dive into the step-by-step of the method, let me tell you one last story. Yesterday, I was at the bank when I saw a 70-year-old man crying tears of joy. I went up to him and learned something that completely changed the way I view money. This gentleman was crying because he had just paid off his first apartment. But the most amazing part wasn't that. It was how he did it. He worked as a janitor and developed a method so simple that anyone can replicate it. What he did was take all the material that companies were going to throw away and resell it in specific Facebook groups. I'll explain in more detail how he did this later in the video. Now it's time to show you the complete step-by-step method to save $50,000. The first step is, now let's move on to the next step. The fifth and final pillar of the method is what I call exponential micro-accumulation. This starts with saving just $1 a day in the first week, $2 a day in the second week, and so on, doubling it every week. While it may seem like a tiny amount at first, by the end of 12 months, this becomes an astronomical snowball effect. But before we continue, I need to share something deeply personal. Yesterday, I received a message from a subscriber that made me so happy. This 19-year-old applied the method I taught and achieved even better results than I did. What he did was so ingenious that I couldn't believe it was possible. But since he applied a method I taught, I'll share exactly what he did in a bit. Now, I need to tell you about something truly impactful. The second step of the method is what I call needs arbitrage. This is where the magic truly happens. You need to identify small problems people have and create simple solutions for them. For example, do you have a neighbor who doesn't have time to walk their dog? Or maybe a lady who doesn't know how to use her phone properly? There are countless opportunities around you if you start paying attention. If these tips resonate with you, leave a comment saying, "On the way to 50K" below. I'll be raffling off one-on-one mentorship for those who comment. No, this isn't a cheesy coach talk session. This is a real conversation where I'll personally help you identify specific opportunities for your reality. The third step of the method is what I call the progressive multiplication system. This is where you take the money you've saved and multiply it intelligently. For example, do you remember the money from the cans that the former homeless person saved? He didn't just use it to buy food. He used part of it to invest in something simple, yet powerful, which multiplied his money. Speaking of multiplication, let me share what that 19-year-old subscriber did. He took $100, bought cleaning products in bulk, and started reselling them in his neighborhood. In just 30 days, he turned $100 into $1,500. But the secret wasn't in the products themselves, it was in the sales strategy he developed. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the perfect time, because in the next video, I'll reveal an opportunity I recently discovered that's making a lot of people money consistently. And no, it has nothing to do with digital marketing or day trading. The fourth step of the method is leveraging idle time. Everyone has at least 2 free hours a day, even if it's during a commute or before bed. The question is, how can you turn this time into money? This is exactly what the gentleman at the bank discovered. By applying this method, he managed to pay off his first apartment. Don't worry, I'll reveal the entire strategy soon, but let's go through it step by step. Do you remember the former homeless person? Let me tell you the end of his story. After he started saving the money from the cans, he discovered something that completely changed his life. It was such an obvious opportunity, but many people fail to notice it. He realized he could use the money from the cans to buy broken pallets from companies at negligible prices. He'd fix them and resell each pallet for 5 times its original value. In just 1 year, he had a micro-pallet business and eventually owned 4 apartments. The lesson here is clear. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how you multiply your money. Now, I'm going to reveal the 5th and final step of the method, the financial domino effect. This is exactly what that 19-year-old used to multiply his results. He took 50% of his profits and reinvested them into new products. He saved 30% and used 20% to live on. In just 6 months, he had a working capital of $115,000. Incredible, right? Speaking of incredible, let me tell you about something that happened this morning. It completely shocked me. I received a message from a delivery driver who watched my last video and implemented a single tip I gave. The result? In just 15 days, he tripled his income by doing something so simple that most people overlook, leaving a lot of money on the table due to lack of attention. Watch my last video to find out exactly what that strategy was. And that gentleman at the bank who was crying, he taught me something I'll never forget. He told me that money is like water. It will always find a way. The secret is to create the right channels. He created these channels by doing exactly what I taught you today, starting with just $1 a day. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you're committed to your financial independence. That's why I'm going to extend an invitation. Implement this method for 30 days and tell me the results in the comments. You don't need to wait to reach $50,000. Tell me about each small victory along the way. Speaking of victories, remember that young man at the mall who was crying? Today, he has a product distribution network with 5 employees. It all started with the simple idea of reselling products in neighborhoods that didn't have major stores. The lesson here is, sometimes the greatest opportunity is hidden in the greatest difficulty. Before I wrap up, I have one last request. Share this video with at least 3 people who need this information. Unlike the conventional get-rich schemes you may have heard, this method works. It's based on a proven, logical approach that anyone can apply, no matter where they're starting from. Unlike those gurus who are only interested in selling courses, my goal is to genuinely help people achieve financial independence. In fact, next week, I'll be releasing a video that goes into detail about that technique I used to earn $2,000 in a day. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. I promise it's going to be something revolutionary. And remember that lady with the $2 bills? She just messaged me saying she expanded her business to rare notes of different values and now earns over $8,000 a month. All of this started with a simple idea that anyone could have had. To wrap up, I want you to remember this. Wealth is not about luck. It's about strategy. If you apply the method I taught you today, starting with just $1 a day, I guarantee that in 12 months, your financial life will be completely transformed. That's exactly how I changed mine.